Retirement contributions with no strings attached. In this episode, I'm going to answer the question, what is the best way to make retirement savings contributions? You know, I've been asked this question thousands of times. The answer is not what you think. So my name is Doug Andrew, and I've helped people for more than 4.5 decades optimize their financial assets and minimize taxes and empower themselves to retire, not outlive their money by dramatically increasing their rate of return safely, in fact, increasing the safety of their money and earning predictable payouts of 8 to 10%. Every $1 million they accumulate can generate $80,000, maybe $100,000 a year of tax-free income for as long as they live. Whereas most people who have IRAs and 401ks only get 4% as a payout, $40,000 on $1 million, and that's before tax. They have to pay tax on that, so they're only netting maybe $25,000 or $30,000 to buy gas and groceries. So this is not a little bit better that I'm going to share with you. This is 100%, sometimes 300% more, because many people, they pull out 90 grand a year versus the 30,000 net after tax out of an IRA or 401k portfolio invested in the market. So I'm going to share with you what are the differences. I'm going to use some metaphors and examples to teach you this concept that will empower you. So let me start out with a metaphor here, the farmer and the seed. If you were a farmer and you had the choice of buying your seed in the springtime, you didn't have to pay tax on what you paid for the seed. So you buy the seed, you don't have to pay tax. Then you plant it, you cultivate it, you irrigate it, you work really hard, and later on in the fall, you're going to harvest your crops. Now you agree to pay tax on what you sell your harvest for. I just described a traditional IRA or 401k to you. You get a tax break on the seed money, the contributions. You don't have to pay tax as you're growing your money, but then when you harvest your money in retirement, now you agree to pay tax. Now, the old premise on IRAs and 401ks was that, oh, you should do that because you will be in a lower bracket when you retire. Well, that has not been true or axiomatic for more than 25 years. People who save very much are not in lower brackets. They're in as high or higher brackets as they've ever been in, so that's not the right advice. Even Congress realized this in 1997 when they were hard up for money. And Senator Roth said, hey, we'll name this after me. And so they came up with the Roth IRA or 401k. And they said, hey, you know what? People are getting smart. They're not in lower brackets if they save very much. So let's have them pay tax on the seed and enjoy the harvest without tax. Now that's a step in the right direction, but folks, I've never owned an IRA or 401k. I never will. I've never owned a Roth IRA or 401k. I never will. And I'm going to explain to you why, because Roths only have two benefits. My favorite vehicle is called the Laser Fund. It has those two benefits that Roths have, but 4 additional benefits that Roths will never have. And it's been around in the Internal Revenue Code for over a century. It's a sacred cow. I can pay tax on the seed money and enjoy the harvest without tax. But I can earn rates of return that are far greater and safer than where most people have their money in IRAs or 401ks or even in Roths. So are you ready? Now you can type in some questions below or search my other educational videos on this channel. I want to encourage you to subscribe, but listen to the 6 benefits of what I call my Laser Fund, and then I'll show you how you can learn more about the Laser Fund and if it might be right for you for your serious cash for goals such as retirement. You fund a Roth IRA or 401k with after-tax money. When Congress came out with this idea in 1997, it was really for them, not for you. I'm not saying it wasn't maybe a step in the right direction, but it triggered tax. When people rolled money over from a traditional IRA or 401k over to a Roth, that triggered tax. You paid tax. But then you got to enjoy the money later on tax-free. And if you're going to be in a higher bracket when you retire, or you think Congress is going to slowly raise taxes, I can prove to you mathematically, and I do it in my books, that a Roth IRA or 401k will generally produce 33% more net spendable income. It will last longer than the exact same amount of money at the same rate of return in a traditional IRA or 401k. Have I got your attention? So what are the two benefits of a Roth? You fund it with after-tax money, it accumulates tax-free, and you can access your money tax-free. The laser fund has had that benefit grandfathered in the Internal Revenue Code since 1913, even before the code. But for over a century, it's a sacred cow. It's the only vehicle in the Internal Revenue Code that allows you to accumulate your money tax-free and then be able to access that money tax-free. But when you ultimately die, it blossoms and transfers tax-free. So let me explain this. See, in my laser fund, and what is a laser fund? Laser is an acronym that stands for Liquid Assets Safely Earning Returns. It is a max-funded tax advantage insurance contract, but not just any contract. It is designed where you put in the most money the IRS allows, you take the least amount of insurance the IRS will let you get away with, and you put in the most money the IRS allows as fast as they allow, and it turns into a cash cow. This is where I have averaged between 7 to 10% rates of return for 40 years when the idea was first introduced by E.F. Hutton. And they weren't even an insurance company, okay? Now, here's how it works. I can accumulate my money tax-free. I can access it tax-free, just like Roths. What are the 4 additional benefits? See, with the laser fund, sometimes it's referred to as the rich man's Roth by savvy CPAs and tax attorneys. I always snicker because you don't have to be rich to have one. I mean, you can set up a laser fund for $500 a month. But see, people who make too much money can't own a Roth. So with a laser fund, if I have a banner year, I could design it to hold $300,000 a year. You can't put that much into a Roth. That's why it's called the rich man's Roth. If you have a lot of money, you can put it in the laser fund. Now, you can put in $300,000. You don't have to. You can put in $30,000. Well, if you could have put in 300, you only put in 30. There's 270,000 of room you didn't use. With a Roth, if you don't use the allocated room, which is small, in a given year, you've lost it. You can't ever make up for years you didn't maximum fund it. With the laser fund, no, I can put in the other 270,000 anywhere in the future I want on top of that year's 300,000. So you can make up for years that you didn't put in the maximum. You can't do that with a Roth. Now, let's say I put in 30,000 and I could have put in 300. I can make it up, but if I put in 300,000 and 30 days later, I need 250,000 of that back for some emergency or some investment opportunity to buy a piece of property. I can do that with an electronic funds transfer or a phone call. If you put money into a Roth, you can't touch it for 5 years or till you're 59 and a half or whatever. And so I like the laser fund because I can put in more money and I can take it right back out again. There's no IRS penalties of 10% or whatever for touching the money. So it's very flexible, way more flexible than a Roth. Here is the 5th benefit. Using indexing, my money can participate when the market goes up without my money being invested or at risk in the market. And if the market nosedives, I don't lose. This is called indexing. Most financial advisors think I'm talking about index mutual funds. No. Indexing is a strategy where your money is safe and it's earning a general account portfolio rate. But if you want to link it to whatever the market or the economy is doing, you can do that. And your money is not invested in the market. The financial institution, in this case an insurance company, is taking the interest on your money and buying upside options. So if the market goes up, you can earn 10%. I've earned 15%, I've earned 25% some years like 2017. But if I guess wrong, the options expire worthless, but I did not lose my principal. If I started the year with $1 million and the market tanked 40%, I don't lose a dime. I still have my $1 million. I may not have made very much, but I didn't lose. That's called indexing. I want you to learn about that. The 6th advantage to the laser fund is when I die, because none of us are getting out of here alive, out of this life. If I died right now, I'm 68. If I died right now, every $1 million I have, let's say in a laser fund portfolio, would blossom right now to about $2.5 million and transfer income tax free to my wife, my kids, my church, my charity, anybody I want to leave it to. There's not a Roth around that will do that. And people say, how much does that cost? Well, nothing's free, but the way I design it, the way I teach it in my book, it's paid for with a minuscule portion of interest that would otherwise go out the window in unnecessary income tax if I had my money where most Americans have their money, in inferior IRAs and 401ks. So why would I do that? I'll take as much coverage as I can get when I die. If it doesn't cost me anything, it's being paid for by Uncle Sam with redirected otherwise payable tax. Now, if this is intriguing questions, okay? If this is helping you to become curious, let me show you how you can learn more about this laser fund. So if you want to see if a rich man's Roth, a laser fund, may be appropriate for you, learn about it. This is my most recent best-selling book, book number 11. It's 300 pages containing charts, graphs, and explanations. You flip the book over and there's another 12 chapters with 62 actual client stories. And so this book retails for 20 bucks. I'll tell you what, I'll pay for the book. I'll gift it to you for free. You simply go to Laser Fund, L-A-S-E-R, laserfund.com to claim your free copy. You simply pay $5.95 towards the shipping and handling. I'll cover the rest of that and I'll pay for the book. There's also other options in there if you like to listen and learn and watch and learn. And you will understand how to diversify and create the foundation for a tax-free retirement that'll knock the socks off of any Roth you can show me.